Hey everyone, I'm leaving on a family trip to Italy and Paris and I'm bringing you all along. Sad to be leaving my doggy, but here we go. To meet my family in Rome, I flew Air France using points and had a layover in Paris where I took advantage of the Air France lounge in Terminal 2F. The private shower rooms were so clean and packed with amenities. After getting refreshed, I ate some decent lounge food and got on my second flight to arrive in Rome closer to midnight. The next morning, I woke up early, excited to pick up coffee and pastries for my family near our Airbnb. And man, the cappuccino and pistachio croissant were both so delicious. A great start. My sister booked us a golf cart tour of the city and we headed out to meet our guide at the famous Trevi Fountain, just a quick walk from our place. Seeing the Trevi Fountain up close just felt so unreal. I'll keep saying this over and over again, but Rome truly felt like one giant outdoor museum because of the architecture and grandiose size of all of the structures, not to mention the sheer number of tourists everywhere we went. It was so crowded when we first arrived and it just kept growing. By the way, big thanks to my older sister who treated our entire family of 4 to our first ever international trip together. So grateful for her big heart to want to provide this experience, especially for my parents. I was skeptical about the golf cart tour at first, but it's a great idea when you don't have a lot of time to see everything. Our guide Walid provided us with information while driving to each destination and waited in the golf cart while we explored one site at a time. You should definitely consider it an option when traveling with older folks or those with injuries. My sister booked our 2.5-hour tour through Airbnb last minute, and we were so happy with that decision. I'll provide a link in the description.
I feel like a dog.
I've been to touristy cities before, but I feel like Rome is clearly on a different level. Every building feels like a movie set, and the constant lines for tourists for every single thing made it feel like we were at an amusement park the entire time. Everywhere we looked, there was gorgeous architecture and art, so there was never a dull moment while we were on the road. It was hard for my brain to process all of the art I was constantly being exposed to just by driving around. It was also a great way to get the lay of the land, and we felt like we got to know the city a lot quicker this way. We ended our tour by being dropped off near the Pantheon, and we wandered into a cafe to use their restrooms. Just FYI, the best way to use the restrooms in Rome is to just grab a drink from a cafe or bar. Public restrooms are rare and they cost money. I don't usually drink coffee, let alone 2 cups in one day, but once we were inside, I just had to get a cup. Surprisingly, it didn't even make me feel jittery, and of course the coffee here was delicious. For lunch, we grabbed sandwiches from the famed Al Antico Vinaio to eat in front of the Pantheon like everyone else was doing. Our family ordered 4 types of truffle sandwiches on the menu, and I got the tartufo too, which had a prosciutto-like meat and pecorino cream. And man, that pecorino cream was heaven. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. I'm lactose intolerant, so a creamy sheep cheese option? Yes. 1,000 times yes. Before getting a chance to finish our sandwiches, we saw that there was no line for the Pantheon, so we rushed to enter before the lines formed again after lunchtime. It was such a trip to be in a place I learned about as a junior high student. We then trekked our way to the Roman Forum, which was included in our Colosseum tickets. I was so stoked to spot the statue of Romulus and Remus, one of the first things I learned about in my junior high world history class. Just a tip, I recommend using the entrance closer to Capitoline Hill, which didn't have a line, versus the main entrance closest to the Colosseum, which had a very long line. This also makes sense if you choose to see the Forum before your Colosseum reservation time. Since our reservation time for the Colosseum was coming up soon, we sort of rushed through the Forum. It's a shame because it's such a huge place filled with so many things to see, but we were also getting pretty tired from so much sightseeing anyway. It would have been more ideal to have multiple days to see what we saw today. We finally arrived at the Colosseum. It was so surreal actually being there, a piece of history that I first learned about as a child. We really wanted to see it at night since everything in Rome is gorgeous all lit up, but we couldn't get tickets. Make sure to book way in advance if you want to come at night. After resting for a bit back at our Airbnb, we arrived at Costanza Osteria for our first sit-down meal in Rome. Instead of being seated in their beautiful main room, we were seated in what I'll lovingly refer to as the clown room. A bit disappointing, but the food made up for it. We ordered mozzarella di bufala to start, which is a rarer item back in the States. And it was so flavorful. Enough to make me dance.
Yum. So good.
We ordered 3 different pastas, and first up was rigatoni alla norcina, made with black truffle and sausage. Also, all of the pastas were perfectly textured. Next up was my go-to pasta, bucatini alla matriciana, made with tomatoes, guanciale, and pecorino romano. Last but not least, linguine all'astice for 2 made with lobster. The sauce was rich and the meat was sweet. This was really our favorite meal in Rome. Such solid flavors and cooked perfectly. I also enjoyed my first glass of wine in Italy, and it was their house red. The server brought out their Jewish-style artichoke dish last, which looked amazing but wasn't our favorite. It felt a bit too oily and without sauce tasted bland, but maybe I needed to try it at another location. We finished the meal off with some tiramisu that came with these complimentary donut-shaped cookies. At first, the tiramisu tasted too sweet.
Oh my god.
But
It's very... Ooh, that's a really good tiramisu actually.
wow, I never changed my opinion so quickly. After dinner, we decided to check out the Trevi Fountain at night, gorgeous, and grab some gelato on the way back home. The advice I got from everyone is sound. Eat gelato as much as possible. And surprisingly, I felt fine even though I'm lactose intolerant. And that concluded our very full first day in Rome. Day 2, cappuccino and pastry. Day 2 was our Vatican tour day. Honestly, I never really had any inkling of visiting this problematic institution and didn't know too much about what I was going to see there. It was also so very crowded, and being the introvert that I am, it was sure to be somewhat of a draining experience. I was actually surprised by just how much art there was to see there, so I get why it's a major tourist attraction. Each room felt endless, jam-packed with sculptures and paintings. By the way, please make sure to like and subscribe. Liking my videos definitely helps to get more eyes on my videos and lets me know to keep making them. I especially liked the ceiling in this room before we made our way into the Sistine Chapel, where photography was strictly forbidden. You were also supposed to remain completely silent, but it was hard for them to enforce that rule as they frustratingly reminded people to be quiet every 5 minutes over the microphone. Kind of hilarious. Our last stop was St. Peter's Basilica. And wow, I never walked into a building quite like it. It's enormous and decadent. So many people piled into the building, and yet there was still room for more. The quality and craftsmanship is just beyond modern standards. And to have built it without modern tools and machinery, it's just hard to fathom. Visiting the Vatican was definitely an interesting experience, but I was quite glad the tour was finally over. Don't plan on doing anything else on the day you visit. You really don't have energy to do anything else after. We had a quick lunch at a fresh pasta place that was somewhat flavorless and disappointing, then rested at our Airbnb before heading off to our dinner spot. I enjoyed the ambiance of this restaurant and really enjoyed the pizzas. I especially liked my margherita pizza with buffalo cheese. First bite of pizza! But the roasted suckling pig that they were known for was very dry and hard. We might have gotten bad pieces, but it was very disappointing. And their rigatoni alla matriciana was just okay. Feeling deflated, we picked up a panna cotta from a restaurant that offered takeout, and enjoyed this jiggly goodness back at our Airbnb. I love me a good panna cotta. But you know what? We also had room for gelato, so we stopped by this local shop that served them in a rose shape. Remember this mantra, a gelato a day, a gelato a day. Oh, and make sure to get the pistachio flavor. It's just so freaking good. And with our bellies full, we were ready to turn in for the night. Make sure to join me next time on our day trip to Florence, where I visit one of the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen and enjoy our last night in Rome before heading off to Venice. See you then!